What's going on YouTube? My name is Newo, and I'm a techno artist from Los Angeles. Today I'm going to be doing a very simple but very effective video, which I guess is kind of my whole motto. But anyways, we're going to be making claps that are very thick, claps that cut through the mix, and that don't actually require that much processing. As long as you're intentional about it, you will get good results. So let's go ahead and listen to what the actual clap sounds like that we'll be making. And it's the kind of thing where once it's playing on top of a kick with other percussion, it just sounds so good. And what it is it's just a couple different clap samples. And this is something I've talked about in previous videos, how effective it is to take advantage of those couple milliseconds before the actual grid line, right? So in the past, when I would make music, I thought everything had to be right on the grid and it sounded kind of thin. And I realized the way that you thicken things up is by tricking the listener's ear by taking advantage of those ever so slight time differences between sounds. Now, I just have a couple samples that I've gone through. So like that one, very short one, very short one, very thin one, and that one's a little bit thicker. So what I did is I routed all those. After balancing the levels, you'll notice there's some different, they're coming in at different actual levels, but I routed those into a channel and put the Smack Attack transient shaper on it. And this is a very simple plugin. It has a little bit of like internal distortion to it, but it sounds very good. So that just boosts some of the thwack of it. And then the lo-fi, if you've seen any of my other videos, this is one of my go-to plugins. All that's doing, it's just a little bit of distortion with the white noise boosted, so that just adds some more top end to it. So I printed that, and then I actually printed that into another channel with EQ. And I suppose I could have thrown the EQ on before I reprinted it, but I'm just a big fan of like the second you have something sounding good, just commit it and keep moving forward. Don't get down that rabbit hole of like, oh, should I do this? Should I not do this? Just don't fight the flow. So a little bit of EQ and then just reprinted that into another Smack Attack to get it a little tighter. Now, yeah, that's literally the gist of the clap. And when I design my stuff, I intentionally keep the recording studio in mind. So like I don't really do that much compression or EQing when I'm doing raw sound design because I know that I'm going to do that later. So this clap is from a new record that I'm working on that I'm not actually done with the track. So of course, by the time it's all finished, it will sound a little different. But one way that you can further boost your claps is to do kind of the same thing, but a reverse version of that. So you'll notice here, I have some reverse samples. And if we go through these are actually they are not actually all claps, right? So like some of them are like, oh, I think a couple of them are actually kick sounds. Yeah, so there's some kick sounds, some like low pass style sounds. That one has a lot of bass to it, and that was intentional. I distorted it a little bit and then cut off the actual sub of it. Same thing, it's just trying to get that top distortion out of it. I don't really need the sub part of it. And then that one is sitting very low in the mix. It's, coming in at almost -30, and the clip itself has been taken down, but it adds some width to it. And that's kind of like another part of tricking the listener's ears. If you have a lot of width coming in before the actual transient, it makes it sound thicker. So if we hear those two sounds together that have been printed, it would be like this. Oh, and actually I should note before we listen to that, the clap reverse. So these basically all got printed into here, and that has some lo-fi, just further distortion, EQ, just cutting off all the lows, and then the Kramer, which I love and pretty much use on everything, and then the H comp, which is completely slamming the sound, so it's just like squashing the hell out of it. But it sounds good because it's playing back at such a low volume that it's not really like if you mute it when you're listening to the actual record, you would notice it. But when it's in there, it's not like obnoxious or anything like that. So that's kind of the secret, at least how I do my claps. So if we listen to those together. Now, this is from a more electro house style record, but I mean, claps are very effective in techno, any kind of techno, really, warehouse techno. And I should note that this is more for that like 2 and 4 style clap, because I know a lot of techno has claps that are a little bit thinner and more of like a rhythmic rolling element. And you can do the same technique for that, except it's not really as necessary because there's not as much of a focus on the transient. It's more like a background rhythm sound. It's almost like a hi-hat, the way they use those style of claps. But if there's anything else that you would like to see regarding specific parts of sound design, please let me know in the comments. Please hit me on Twitter, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and thank you. Have a great rest of your evening.